for watching or listening. Liam Hartree here with another episode of Presenting Champions. Today, joined by a very special guest, Brittany Cloudy, known as the Quiet Storm. But I have to say, it's got to be one of the coolest names in MMA at the moment. Professional MMA fighter, coach, licensed coach at that, former track and field athlete as well, I believe. So we've got some fantastic things to get into today. Brittany has competed for some fantastic organisations, including King of the Cage, Invicta FC, and others. So we will be talking about her career today, past fights, future plans, what she's doing with the coaching and helping others, and a lot of other very cool stuff. So thank you all for watching. And Brittany, like I said just now, thank you again for coming on. It's a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much for reaching out and setting this up. I'm looking forward to, chopping it up with you.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. So getting into it, I think from the beginning, I don't always start at the beginning with my guests, but in this case, I think it is a good place to start. Your journey with MMA itself, where did it begin for you? Where was the initial sort of inspiration saying, I want to be a professional fighter, I want to compete in MMA and sort of chase greatness and take that challenge basically. Where did it all start for you?
Yeah. Kind of interesting. I never would have thought to see myself in this stage of my life. So I've never been in combat, but I played basketball and then I ran track, and I didn't this point of where I was finishing up my career in track, but I've always wanted to stay active. And my boyfriend at the time, he was into MMA, watching from, kind of sidelines, spectator. So when I finished up with track, I was like, well, I wanted to learn jujitsu, just to see what it was like, learn how to, do boxing. So it was just more of a curiosity in the beginning. And just for the sake of like, I replaced one sport with another one because I like to compete. So once I started learning boxing jiu-jitsu, I really deeply fell in love with the science of it all, the technique. I like to say I'm a technical athlete. I really like to focus on that. And mentally, it consumed me. So I've already have that competitive spirit. It just kind of wanted to keep learning more. And I just kept showing up day after day. And it was like, all right, well, I want to do jiu-jitsu. I want to do a match like that. Okay, well, I want to do a kickboxing match. Okay, so I did that. And it was like, all right, I want to put it all together. So it was like one of the things that just kind of picked the speed at the moment, kept going, and I just been sticking with it ever since.
Amazing, amazing. So that's the beginning of the journey. Okay, very cool. And obviously, we'll get into some other things now in terms of how you've developed as an athlete and so on and so forth. But I have to ask, the name The Quiet Storm, as I mentioned, is very cool, very catchy, very memorable. Obviously, on the show, I get all different fighters with all different names, but there's only a few that sort of stand out in your mind, roll off the tongue. This is one of them. So who initially thought of that? Was it you? Was it someone you were training with, or where did the name come from in the beginning?
It was actually like one of my friends out of the sport. It was very personality based. My last name is Cloudy, and growing up, I've had friends who play off of my name or call me Sunny or call me Stormy or something like that. And the whole concept of the quiet kind of embodies my personality. I'm pretty soft spoken, very gentle, but then at the same time, like I have this competitive edge, strength and athletic like attributes that gives you the whole opposite extreme of that. And so it just seemed like it automatically just fit when my friend brought it up. She's like, you kind of like a quiet storm. Thought it was kind of funny. I was like, yeah, I think I kind of like that. It's very fitting. So um, yeah, I feel like that's just kind of came to be. And the more time has gone on, the more I've identified with the concept in many, many ways.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I can totally get where they were coming from. I mean, obviously, I know we've just met properly now, but I get that vibe as well. Like you're very calm and you're very, chilled out, easy to talk to and everything. But I can imagine in the cage, obviously, you switch it up and it comes out. And a lot of great fighters are like that. That is a common trait. So it makes sense. In terms of obviously going back to the MMA side of things, you mentioned having a competitive mindset and everything of that nature. Now, early on in your career, even if this was sort of at the amateur stage or anything like that, were you always aiming for, I want to go high with this, I want to
Mm.
do the best that I can, or was it, early on thinking I'm just going to see how far I go and I'm not sure? And the reason I asked this question instead of asking about one sort of particular fight in that early stage of your career, just to get a feel for how your mindset was at that time, like when you were starting out, basically.
Yeah.
That makes-
Um, my mindset has always been I'm trying to get to the elite of wherever I am at. When I was playing basketball, it was like, all right, I want to be in a W. When I was running track, I was like, all right, like I've always had the mentality of climbing to the top of wherever, the highest um, capable athletes are. And so I have that same mentality. I obviously want to make it to the top. I feel like I am an elite athlete, and I feel like that's where I belong. Like I have these skills, and I've been working on them for like most of all my life. I've always been in sports, and I kind of feel like it fell into place because a lot of my skills that I have with me came from other sports. And had I not, fine tuned them and crafted and worked hard in those areas, I would never been able to have all those resources right now within the field of MMA. Because that's already a whole bunch of other techniques that had definitely took me on a journey with that. So um, I've taken everything that I've learned and what I've gained being an athlete, and I've been really just crafting to put it all together to achieve the highest level of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And don't get me wrong, I totally feel you on that in terms of aiming for the highest level and all of that. But it's also always cool, especially for sort of up and coming athletes who might be watching this as well, to get a feel for the transitions that people go through from sort of the early stages to the later stages and so on. So that's sort of the reason for for asking it that way. Obviously, so far in your career, you have accomplished some great things, like I mentioned at the beginning, rattled off, some of the promotions you fought for and some of the different things. But in your own words, I want to get into your proudest moments, basically. That's the question. But just to give that context, I know that I personally believe anyway that sort of the best is yet to come with your career. So we will get to that. But just taking a moment to look back, at what you've done so far. Is there a particular fight or a particular some aspect that for you you're most proud of so far, and it's sort of the most special to you, the most meaningful to you, that type of thing?
Um, I guess honestly, I would say to start, I do feel like there is this one fight that was kind of like the catalyst to it all. But what that created was a ripple effect of going into every fight, it was getting better. And then I did the first time. So being able to and witness myself grow as a fighter, um, that fight for me was the first fight that I had in 20, 2018 when I had moved. No, it was 2019. Moved to California. I started training at Team Oyama, and I had a year off from my pro debut. That was a year before that, and I had lost that fight from a split decision. So it's like I had to play off. Um, I uprooted my life and moved to California. So it's like such a big transition, but a lot of great energy and good things too at the same time. And I had the mentality of, all right, I'm about to come back into this fight game and about to flash, and trained so hard for I felt really great that camp. And when I walked out, I felt joy and happiness. Like, you're walking out, like there's different moods that people are in. But for me, I felt like the connection of when I walked out there, I was happy. Like I was getting ready to go have fun. And I showed up that way. And so that fight was kind of like the catalyst, that momentum going forward that, got back into, all right, let me get like 3 fights in a row after that. And then of course COVID happened, but that was the onset of like, all right, I'm back in it. Starting this role, I'm about to go on a run here. That fight was actually Lights Out, based out of California. That was a really good fight.
Okay, that's a special one. I love asking that question because a lot of people, there's a cool story behind it, and there's often a cool story that you don't get just from obviously watching the fight or whatever. You don't know what's behind the scenes, so it's very, very cool. Last one before we get to the future and your coaching and a few other things. People always want to know about toughest fights. This is, a very fan-friendly question. I think it follows on from what you were just saying about toughness in a different way, obviously with the layoff and things like that. But in terms of a fight itself, and obviously toughest fights, it can be, it's not just who hits hard or whatever. It can be a technical element. You mentioned that earlier. It can be something like what you just said, something that's going on outside of the cage. It's not just sort of a narrow question. But again, in your own words, the one that was the most challenging, and again, the reason for asking this, getting into how you overcame that and the positive aspect of it, so it's not to dwell on the negative, but very much how you turn that into a positive. So, yeah, what comes to mind for most challenging fight, basically?
Mm, I
Big
kind of,
question, I know.
yeah, I kind of have 2 fights that were challenging. Um, the first challenge fight, and it was very difficult to get processed. It was a fight against Hope, and I had lost. And for me, it was, I like really just beat myself up about it because it came down to like knowing what to do, but then like acting in the moment and executing your game plan. That has kind of come up around be one of the things that I've been really I've been working on being better at. It's like I have the skills. How do we go in and execute? And then making good judgment calls. So I always just feel like I kind of played jujitsu a little too long. And I guess I was just getting tired of like losing fights that I felt should win. But of course, I'm finding ways to lose, mentality. So that had prompted a lot of like internal like thinking on my part. How did I come into this fight camp mentally? How am I that aspect of me? Um, but then also thinking about like there was a lot of things that were not the best that they could have been. So making sure that when I fight, providing like the best environment for me, um, have the most in camp, and so that my best, not just physically but mentally. But then, so my second like last fight that was challenging was my fight that I lost, which has triggered everything else that has happened in this recent past. My last fight against Serena Day, um, it came down to my car, and it came down to like I was really trying to make fighting work and putting together the things that I needed, but knowing that I don't really have everything that I need, but still trying to just endure the storm or bring the storm out. So that prompted me to, I'm not going to go into another fight until I have everything I know that I need. And I need that push. I need that grind. And I need to show up at the gym and be pushed more than I've ever been pushed before. So that was kind of what triggered me to move down here to Houston, because I was after California due to COVID and everything, and I was there for a little while. So I was like, hey, well, I'm about to just go and put myself in the place where I feel like I can have everything that I need, so that when I do go into my next fight, there's not going to be these thoughts of like, if this was better, or could you prepare better in this area? I want to be able to go in and just have fun and create the art, because all of the technique and all of the training and the groundwork in the gym, but like when it's go out into the cage and perform, that's where you get to be the artist. And so I want to put myself in a sense where I'm not going out there worried about the weight cut. I'm not going out there worried about will my lungs last. I'm going out there just to keep painting on the canvas. So mentally, that's has been my goal, and everything that I've done has been to put me in the best place to, you know, show up to be the best myself that I can be in that moment.
Yeah. I love that. I love the journey of growth and improvement, and complete self honesty, and just everything that you went into there. It's very powerful, actually, for what you're sharing, but also for people who can take some advice and some life lessons from that, listening to this around the world as well. So very cool. I feel that this sort of leads it a little bit into your coaching as well, and some of the other work that you do. Now, because obviously talking more about the mindset, some of the sort of inwardly focused development, personal development, it's fantastic. You teach and coach others, and you'll have to explain it. I don't know loads about this, but I've seen a bit on your Instagram where you're doing some stuff, and it seems very cool that you're really giving back, really contributing to people. So, can you share with us a little bit about your coaching, what got you into it, what it's sort of comprised of, made up of, and anything you'd like to say about it, really?
Mhm. Yeah. Um, Answering your last really makes me think about that aspect into that field. So a great segue, because one of the greatest things that I feel like I walk away with at the end of like my athletic career in sport is all of the like that I've learned in MMA. It has caused me to really look at myself, and be honest with myself if I really want to improve in the way that I want that I see myself. If I want to be this, I have to be brutally honest with myself to see where are those areas where I need to, and all at the same time be compassionate to realize that it's a journey, not a, right. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And that been like I wish I could have just said that I know how to throw all my punches and move my feet at this time in a couple of weeks, and that's not been this sport. It has literally taken so much investments to like really sharpen skills, which causes me to force me to be more patient with the process, and things that I can and cannot control and all that good stuff. So that parallel to life um, really like shines for me. I On the outside of this, when I first started doing MMA, I've always had a very big fascination in psychology. So while I was going to school for counseling, and also doing MMA, it was like I was getting this bodily. I felt like I was in my own form of therapy, basically, of learning about these concepts, about how we're wired, psychology, and understanding ourselves, um, and using that to optimize ourselves, right? Um, so once I finished school, I thought I went into practice, so therapy, counseling. Um, I was teaching before that, really doing teaching. I just purely love just sharing knowledge. Everything that I feel like I know or resonates with me has someone else that has insight that has helped me in some way. And I just feel we should just keep sharing that good stuff. You know, I want to share something with you. And if that helps to you to improve life, awesome. That makes me feel good that I was able to do that. And that's just what I feel like it's all about. So hence while I'm in that field, I get that sense of like I'm a part of the big whole piece, the bigger picture of the world. And I think that that's something that we're meant to, is to not only like have our own selfish endeavors, also really pour into others around us as well. Because we all share space, and if others are better too, then it should, ideally make everything a better place if we're all better people too. But that's as well as we can look for time, right? And growth of humanity, for example. So it's been really great, being able to also do combination with training, selfish endeavors where I'm learning and working on myself, but then I'm also in a space where I can help others, you know, aid in their life the way that I can, you know. So right now I'm working at a eating and recovery disorder, like suffer from eating disorders. So learning a lot about, you know, new areas that I not would have, on my own will. So it's all a learning process, and I hope to eventually get back into private practice and open up my own private practice once I'm fully licensed. So I got plans and things that I'm working on in that too.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, it's first of all, I mean, it's fantastic work, and I agree 110% what you said about sharing knowledge, contributing to other people, how that sort of spreads out in a ripple effect type of way, and it's a big thing I try and do with these interviews as well. Is obviously take some of the life lessons people have learned, distill those in a talk that people can sort of easily follow, and hopefully it filters on down. So I totally get where you're coming from. It can come in different forms, but the idea of contribution, absolutely love that. And it's that's not even a question; it's just me saying that it is amazing work that you're doing there. So that is a future plan, obviously of yours, to open up your own thing, and that is amazing. In terms of your future plans with MMA as well, and I love the analogy of the sort of selfish, non-selfish. Again, agree 100%. In terms of the MMA pursuits as well, sort of targeting that along with it, what are your future plans with that? I mean, I know you said that you want to have everything as it should be, everything pulled together to have exactly what you need. Following on from that process, well, I mean, it's a process. It's never
Mhm.
really over because we always learn. But following on from, when you feel ready for that, what are your aims in the sport? What are your biggest goals, your biggest drives from that point forward, basically, in terms of what's lighting your fire and what's making you hungry from that point?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm continuing the journey, right? Just doing the next thing, part of this journey to where I'm going, which is trending upward. Um, I really want to, like I mentioned before, um, get to to being the artist and and what I'm doing on the daily, and improving my environment, my life around it. It's all helping me there. My last fight, I have a lot of things that I was able to take from that fight to learn and reflect on, so that I can like put in the center of my focus for this fight camp, so that this fight that is approaching, coming up, Natal and Invicta, um, I'll be able to positive things as well, saying, okay, I made improvements here. Like, how much closer am I getting to execute my game plan the way that I desire? Um, I look at it like that, in the sense that when I'm able to do that, my long term goal will happen, because that will mean I'm just going to keep winning. When I connect my game plan, I'm going to win, and winning is what I need, obviously, to put myself in that position to fight on the big stage and just continue improving and showing how my evolution really. So my supporters and my family, my friends who see me now, I love to just continue growing and showing my improvement and getting better, with every fight. I don't. I have a. I have a thought of what I can look like, when I'm like really up there, like even better. So I look forward to look in that fight where I'm like, yeah, that's what I was visualizing back then, you know. So that's just all it is for me. Doing what I need to do, executing, winning the fight, getting the opportunity to make capitalize on them.
Amazing. Yeah, it's a really good insight, and again, it's a really good insight into the concept of goal setting and self improvement and a lot of really good things. Moving that on into just the last sort of couple of things really to touch on here. I mentioned earlier about young athletes, or I mean, you're quite young, but I mean, people who are just starting out and they're sort of still at the amateur level or whatever, watching this. But some of these lessons they apply to life as a bigger picture. So, question is, if you had to give advice now to people starting out in sport, I know you mentioned you love to teach and everything, so I think this would be a sort of a fun question for you. I know there's a lot, and I know there's more than we could really get into today, but as soon as this is going to go out and sort of go around the world and everything, it's a great opportunity for a little bit of advice from you to sort of filter on down to people. So somebody who comes up to you and says, "Okay, I want to do well in sport, whether it's combat sport or obviously you've been involved in other sports as well." What would you say to them in terms of advice? What would be sort of one or two things that you regard as sort of key ingredients? And I know we've touched on this through the talk in bits and pieces, but it'd be good to get your thoughts on that a little bit more, if that's all right.
I think one of the first things that come up for me when it comes to sports, you know, obviously the goal is we want to win, we want to be successful. Um, but it can also be tricky with tying our worth and our value to those wins and losses completely, right? And letting that define us. If you are more accepting of the fact that this is a process and that we can have a greater knowing when we can like really be critical on ourselves, and then when also to kind of give ourselves compassion with, hey, I'm doing what I need to right now in this period in time in my, or this is where I am in my, and allow okay with this is where you are. Because I really feel like with this sport is, of course, that you want to go in and be great and you can feel like you are great, but then also allowing that space to still student who's still learning, who still can make mistakes. Um, and I feel like finding that balance can also help with, being happy. If you're not happy with you're going to end up burning out a lot quicker. So maintaining this balance so that happiness isn't all the time completely tied to whether you win or whether you lose. Hey, I showed up today, today, taking those like smaller day by day pieces, positives, or remembering those positives so that you're still pouring of why you're doing what you're doing first, but still positively reinforce, hey, I'm enjoying the good and the bad that comes with it as well. Oh, yin and a yang thing.
Yeah, that's some very solid advice right there, and I know that there's bound to be a lot with your depth of experience so far, but at the same time, just to get a few pieces there is very very cool because going back to what you were saying earlier, if that benefits people, even one person, although I'm sure it'll be more than that, then it's a good thing for me. And one of the things I love is throughout this process there has been quite a few life lessons sort of contained, even though we've been talking about fights and different things. But we've got into some good stuff, and I know that there's always more that we could go into, but it's a nice mix of the fight stuff, the mental side, which I feel is terribly overlooked in a lot of cases. So the fact that you work with that is tremendous. I think the future is very very bright, and the only thing I'll say before we wrap this up is there anything that you'd like to say to your fans, your supporters around the world? Because obviously with this, some people this will be their first exposure to you, and some people will know all about you. They will have seen your fights, etc. So to those people, last thing, I'll just put this over to you if there's anything you'd like to say to them.
Um, Getting into the fighting world, I just been making correlation like literally all fighting anyway. We're all fighting one way or the other. Um, And sometimes that think yourself, sometimes it's not always people. And no matter like what field, what it is that you're doing, um, being able to have this awareness with yourself to know, or just spending the time to work on your personal development, and figure out how we can in life and accomplish the things that we want, enjoy it along through the journey is important. Um, my concept, one of my other Instagram pages that I'm really going to start kind of pouring more of the counseling side into is the mental fight, on Instagram. Just thinking about that first person who's given us the most ourselves, and that mental fight that's going to help push you to level up. Um, and I want to just kind of outwardly push out the concept of the quiet storm, which is just being the storm, being able to balance between having peace and love and kindness inside of you, but then also being able to have that 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 grind, that push, criticalness that you need that's going to push you as well. Being able to that balance between these two, where you're able to, be your one warrior for yourself in your life and inspiring and others, along your journey as well. As always, if following me on Instagram, the quiet storm underscore.
Absolutely, yeah. And I will say, just to sort of shout out on that a little bit more, absolutely give this lady a follow because the future is very, very bright with the coaching, with the fighting, with everything that we've talked about today. On Instagram, she's very accessible. You guys can all reach out, so well worth a follow. And I will say, champ, thank you again for making the time for this and sort of being so open and sharing everything you shared. About yourself and about your life and everything in such an authentic way. I really appreciate that, and it might sound strange, but I really do appreciate that because we've got into some deeper stuff today as well as the fight side of it. So I'm very, very happy. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much too. Enjoy with you.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.